Hello, hello. I have the pleasure to sit down with Dr. Robb Kelly. Dr. Robb's been helping people with addiction for a long time now. How are you doing today? Thanks for joining me.
Of course, man. Of course, it's going to be an amazing show.
Yeah, so I've been looking at a lot of your writings for a bit now, and I like what you say about people don't have a drinking problem; they have a thinking problem. I wanted to ask, how'd you come to that?
Well, if you ask most people what alcoholism is, they'll say someone who drinks too much alcohol. That's not the case. Alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism, and the same with every other addiction out there. So, where did we get the information from? Everything that's said today and any other place you'll see me is tried and tested by us, researched by us. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars uh, finding out what alcoholism and addiction is. And it's the brain. It's the hypothalamus, basal ganglia, and the amygdala that differ in the alcoholics to any other addiction. Drug addiction is addictive personality. So the saying is alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made is true. So that's how we got it through our research and my own experience, of course, of losing everything and being homeless for over a year. So yeah,
Wow. And then, this was part of your personal testimony of coming to this, right? That this was the way just to change those thought patterns is how it can change the actions in your life, change how everything turns out from there. Is that right?
it's yeah. Before we do anything, we've got to look at the childhood trauma, which is the gateway drug. If you don't get rid of your childhood trauma, and 99.9% of people have childhood trauma, then the repatterning of the brain, it's the basal ganglia part of the brain, is still at default. So if you imagine a clock phase, we relapse at 12 o'clock, at 10 after, we come round at 20 after, the wife lets us back in the house, half past the kids come back, 20 to the hour, we get that job offer, and at 10 to the hour, we self sabotage. So when anything good happens to us, we self sabotage. So that's childhood trauma. When we look at alcoholics, we've traced an imprinted gene at fetus level of an alcoholic gene. So alcoholism is passed down through the family. You can trace it one or two generations back, guys. If there's no evidence there of alcoholism, it doesn't come from nowhere. So you probably abuse alcohol or heavy drinker, which blows most people's mind. It's like, just go Google it, guys. I hate to sound really confident, but alcohol took my kids away from me. Alcohol took my wife and my businesses. And on two occasions, I died twice on the streets, and they brought me back to life again. So this intense work that we're doing right now is really blowing people's minds. But if you look in America as a whole and England, you see that getting people well is not of no importance to any of the pharmaceutical drugs or medical. So if people can put you on a pill or stick you in a treatment center, then we're all happy. Money's being made. But if you start getting people well, nobody wants to know, because it's crazy. It's a lost client.
That is so crazy. Yeah, and we see that again and again through different industries. They want that long-term kind of income there. And it's just, this is supposed to be the noble pursuit. This is terrible and a betrayal in any industry, but when it comes to our health, it's just it's the worst, isn't it?
Nobody's holding them accountable. Like I was on an interview a few years ago with Purdue, the pharmaceutical company, and I let them have it. And the next day they filed for bankruptcy. It's like somebody needs to show up and tell the truth in this world about what's going on. I do a TikTok live every morning about the truth. There's a myths around addiction, alcoholism, PTSD, childhood trauma, depression, anxiety, all the psych illnesses um, are programmed. So we believe that this is the best way to go, taking the medication. You got to look at heroin. Look at heroin, okay? Absolutely billions and billions of dollars. It's its own industry. Well, can you imagine the pharmaceutical companies getting together and going, "Hey, listen, this heroin is taking all the billions of dollars. What can we do so we can compete?" And one of the board members goes, "Well, why don't we create a drug? Let's call it Suboxone, and we'll convince everybody that if you stop taking drugs on the street and took pharmaceutical drugs, then you'd be clean and sober and everything okay. And they sold that to the fucking world, and the world bought it. The brain doesn't know the difference between street drugs and pharmaceutical drugs. So it's all greed, all greed. 1% of people who suffer from Adderall, suffer from ADHD on Adderall is 1%. 99% haven't got ADHD. It's just been made up, and they want amphetamine salts. So ADHD as a whole is not an attention deficit, it's an attention overload. So we're getting something where the brain's overloaded, and then we're giving them amphetamine salts and stimulants and expecting them to get well, and it just ain't going to happen.
It ain't gonna happen, no sir. So, I was surprised to hear you say Suboxone, because Suboxone is kind of what people use as the treatment for either getting off heroin or getting off of other opiates, and but it's just trouble itself, isn't it?
Well, you've got to ask yourself what you're taking, first of all. And secondly, I like Suboxone and drugs like that as a taper. As a taper. But if you're on Suboxone more than 6 weeks, have a guess what? It's not a taper. It's a drug that you're taking that you depend on. Just like all the other drugs that we take on the street. There's no difference, man. And it's been our hardest battle across the 30 years I've been doing this with over 10,000 patients. Is the truth is we can all recover from all this bullshit that we're going through.
You gotta heal, huh? Man, I love the glasses. You got a story behind that? Is that to get people's attention? Does that help with your discourse with patients?
What it is uh, it's a talking point. So what I found most of my life is everybody you meet when you start talking to them have some kind of stuff that they're going through. Now, I've got some kind of problems that they're going through that keeps them awake at night time. What these are, even though I need them, they're progressive, is what these are conversation starters to find out and be friendly to anybody you can be. Oh, nice glasses. Oh, yeah, good. Oh, my God, you're from England? And the conversation starts. And it always ends in my husband, my wife, my daughter suffers from addiction. Oh, my God. And all came from the silly glasses that I wear. And I have 19 pairs.
I love that. Man, there's prescription too. You got them. They're the real deal, huh?
A real deal, yeah, prescription glasses. So I always get my glasses to match what I'm wearing. So yeah, it's a bit of fun.
I want to show this. It's not a drinking problem. It's a thinking problem. So how do people rewire those thoughts and get back to being productive members of society and having that self control?
It's a long process. You can recover overnight, don't get me wrong, with the drugs and alcohol. Because again, alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism and the same with the drugs. It's not the problem. It's just kind of a symptom. I love what AA says about that. It's a symptom of it. So what's happening basically is this. This is where it gets complicated and why alcoholism is a disease. Is there's a part of the brain called the hypothalamus. Now, the hypothalamus controls our temperature, and it's also kind of our survival instinct part of the brain, fight or flight kind of thing. But it tells the prefrontal cortex certain thing it needs to do to stay alive. At a certain point of the alcoholic's drinking career, because that's what it was for me, the hypothalamus turns around and hijacks the brain of an alcoholic and tells the alcoholics to drink alcohol only to survive. So we can go days or weeks without food or water. So when the survival part of the brain is telling your prefrontal cortex, our decision maker, that we need to drink alcohol, otherwise we will die, even though it's to the contrary, that's what the brain does. So recover from that, you need to heal different parts of the brain with things like 9-dimensional therapy, and we have photo bio something like so red light, this medical grade red light therapy, and normal stuff like NLP and normal psychology and stuff like that. And once we're getting rid of the trauma, we can actually reprogram. I can reprogram around certain things in, I don't know, 30 seconds. because it's all patterns following each other.
I've heard of this NLP before, right? So this is using language to help make those changes.
Yeah,
How do
so it's more of a subliminal thing that's going on with the NLP. So you can plant anything in someone's head, and you can change language in people's head, usually without them knowing. So neuro-linguistic program is actually is programming a different language inside the head. So our normal language is based on childhood trauma and the addictions that we get along the way. So our programming is self-sabotage, self-defeat, what we call the 40 button. Okay, I'm off, that kind of thing. It's one of the tools to help change that dialogue, because the dialogue here becomes internal dialogue, which becomes our belief system. So if I'm always thinking from childhood trauma, a piece of shit, I'll never be anybody, that's programmed into my head, and the behavior will follow that I'll never amount to anything, because that's what my dad told me time and time again.
Wow, that's interesting, huh? The power of our words. We gotta be careful with our speech, don't we?
Well, there's been loads of experiments around that, but the one I like is the German scientist or Japanese, I can't remember. You got I think it was 25 gallons, for instance, and you put the one water in room A and another set of water in room B. So these big tanks with waters in A and B. In A, this staff who thought it was crazy was told to go in there and compliment the water every morning. Good morning, water. How are you doing? You're looking amazing. And there was Mozart and nice music playing. And in room B, they were told to go in and curse at the water. You mother. And it played really loud death metal music and cursing, cursing, cursing on the songs. And after, I think it was a 3-month period, the water in room A was some of the clearest drinking water they've ever tasted. And the water in room B was undrinkable. So if our body is 70, 80% water, then what we say, not only to ourselves, but other people, has a negative effect on that person's brain.
Wow, isn't that amazing? The power of intention.
Yeah.
You know, somebody was sharing with me recently about just thinking about all the people who have prayed for you. And have you accepted those prayers? Have you let them in? Have you received those? Uh, yeah, all the good intention we put out there, and yeah, we keep on keeping on and stay focused on what's best for all of us, don't we?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, when our energy, which is our mind, the saying is mind over matter. What it means is you can't touch or feel the mind, but it sits inside the brain. The brain's matter. So mind over matter means that this energy here can control what we think and do today, as long as it's programmed first thing in the morning. But not only that, where our energy connects with another energy, God, Uncle Jimmy, universe, supreme, or whatever, and our neural pathways have changed because of the therapy you're doing, then your DNA changes. Why is that important? We're not the same guy as we used to be. So all our actions have changed. There are billions of neural pathways in the head. But let's just take a couple, for instance. So if I have a self-sabotaging neural pathway, it's the only route I'm going to take all the time to disaster. But we need to reprogram so that there's various neural pathways. This one's still here, the negative, but we surround it with positive neural pathways. And the more we use the positive as a knee-jerk reaction, the more this guy gets unused and unused and very rarely comes to life, because the new neural pathways we're building are very positive with the stuff that we know today. So if 300 neural pathways die every day, what are we replacing them with? Are we replacing them with the self-doubt, the self-negative talk, because we haven't dealt with our childhood trauma, therefore it affects our life today, and we fall into that. Everything's a pattern in life. Get up in the morning, go to bed, have a coffee, have a shower, go to bed. It's all patterns. We don't realize it's a pattern. So to break them patterns up slightly is another step forward for good mental wealth. We call it mental wealth because once you get this down to a T, this is exactly what we did. We have a 99% success rate. The nearest one to us is 8% treatment center that we know. So once that starts to happen, you're a completely different human being that could, unless intentionally, could never really go back to being the old person.
What do you tell people when they're triggered, when they're getting tempted to go back to to the sauce there. What are some of the recommendations you make?
Well, first of all, guys, hold on to yourself or hold on to a chair because what you're going to hear today is not what you think you're going to hear. Uh, there's no such thing as triggers. I'll just put that there. There's memory recalls, but a memory recall can't happen unless prior started a week before. So if you relapse on the Friday, you need to go back 3, 4, 5, 6 days and find out when the real relapse is happening because it's not when you think it is. Picking up the drink or the drug or depression or PTSD is not happening then, it's happening before. So you have to learn how to capture that behavior early on so you don't have the end result. Because once a thought pattern, self-sabotage a week before, depressions, angry, causing arguments, that's the relapse right there. By the time we get to the bar and pick up the drink, our bets are off because we start to romance that idea. So how do we know that? We'd got 10 of our guys, close friends, who always kept relapsing back in the day. We asked them if we could, next time you're going to relapse, call us. We'll come round. It's an experiment. We'll give you like £10 back in the day. We'll drive you to the dealer or the shop. You go and do what you got to do. We'll drive you back and in your house, and that's it. Everyone agreed to it. So as they relapsed one by one, we took them there. We wired them up with chest, I think it was back in the day. We do head now. And what we found was really crazy is the most intoxicating part when all the numbers spiked was the drive to the liquor store, the drive to the dealer, not for taking the drugs, the anticipation of the drive there, which once again emphasizes that it's not the drug. I was at the liquor store, guys. I think I was homeless. I'm not sure. My memory's not too good about past. It was snowing. I'm a vest, pair of shorts, and a pair of flip flops. It's snowing, and I'm shaking violently and sweating profusely. I know quite well that if I don't get alcohol or hospital, probably in the next 20, 30 minutes, I'm going to die. This Pakistani guy who owned this shop, beautiful man, he knows what I'm going through. It's 5:30 in the morning. He doesn't open until 7, can't start serve alcohol until 10. But he let me in again. He says, "Hey, Robert, you doing okay?" And I'm shaking. And she said, "Usual." Put the £10 on the counter. You put the bottle on the counter, and I don't know why to this day, but this is what happened. Sweat stopped, mood changed, shake stopped. I was instantly in a great mood. I looked at the bottle unopened. I looked back at the shopkeeper at the back of the bottle and I went, fuck, it's not the alcohol. And that was a big aha moment for me. It's not the frigging alcohol. And that's what all our neuroscience stuff around addiction and psychology stuff is the new neuroscience tells us today. It's not the alcohol or drugs, man. It's not the food, cake, porn. It's nothing to do with that, man. It's to do with you. And if you don't do something about it, you're going to die.
Wow, that's really interesting, isn't it? Holding that unopened bottle in it, and the shake stopped, huh?
Crazy, man. I tell you, that now I stayed homeless for another 3 or 4 months because obviously that's not going to stop me drinking. But when I got off the streets, I swore to myself, and I had a spiritual awakening. I was an atheist. To swear to God that I spend the rest of my life helping not only the afflicted but their families. And this is where we do family systems units different to anybody else. So that once you get in that unit and start to heal, it's very contagious. Behavior is very contagious. We get people coming and going, "Hey, my daughter's just not behaving herself. She's shouting, she's screaming at people. And what's your relationship?" Well, I mean, I shout and I scream now and again. Oh my God. It's like we're mirroring part of the brain picks up who's around us, is how we act. So if you're on 50 grand a year and you want to earn 100 grand a year, hang around the guys that earn 100 grand a year. If you hang around 9 depressed people, you will become content. And again, with the alcohol and drugs, and you're going to become that guy. See, I can go back to England to the projects where I was born, and I can help people there. I just can't live there anymore, and that's what we tend to do.
That's amazing, isn't it? That reminds me, my friend was describing talking to their higher power and how, we are who our best five friends are. So, but, if we're in touch with, our vision of, what we can be, what we can achieve, and how we want to be, then there you go. That's going to work into it, isn't it?
100%. And again, patterns and people we hang around with are very important to how we behave in life. You know, how do we know this? People around us are the compliment. There's two people in this world: the people that love you who you are, and the people that want to be you. So we're surrounded by people. If we surround ourselves with good people, they will treat us good and compliment and validate our actions all the time. If we hang around mediocre people, no one's validating you or approving you, just falling in with the crowd. How do we know that? Well, many, many years ago, we did an experiment in England with a school. The headmaster was a very good friend of mine. And we said to him, we're going to come round to the class, ages, I think they were, I want to say 9 to 12 or something. We want to come round to the school and we want to give the school an exam, these kids, a test. And then after they finish the test, we'll go home, analyze it. We'll come back the next day and tell you your three top students between 9 and 12. He said, well, I've got to see this. I think you are definitely can't do that, but I'm willing to do it. I'll check with the parents. And they did. So we went in, there was about 16, 17 kids there. And we handed out all the exam papers, the test papers. They filled them in. We collected them. And we said to the headmaster, we'll be back tomorrow to tell you your top three. And he goes, great, can't wait. What about the next day? We said, we have your top three geniuses. That's going to become captains of industry. Okay, first of all, Julie. Julie? Julie Smith? Yeah, I can't be right. Telling you now. Oh, okay. What about Billy? Billy's number two. Billy, I don't know about that. And John. God, I can't believe you picked. How do you know with John? I mean, he's mediocre, but he's nothing special. You know, I kind of know the kids that are more intelligent. They get three guys that's going to storm the world and change the world. And we'll be back in 12 months' time to see how these kids are doing. So we went back a year to the day later. How's our three students? Oh my God, the headmaster said. I cannot believe how you predicted that. We need to go to the government. We need to call the prime minister up. How did you come up with a test that tells the top three in a school? You need to explain to us. It's very important. So we said, well, here was the deal. We collected all the papers off the kids. And on the way back home, we threw them in the trash can. And then we picked three random names out of your school. And we presented them three names and told you they're going to be geniuses. And because you treated them like geniuses, so they become.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Fulfilling. Yeah, our intentions are powerful, right? And people have a way of living up to what we think of them. You know, I like to think of people when they're going through a hard time, try to imagine them in their best state, right? And hope they'll live up to that. So yeah, that's powerful. That's a placebo effect, right? They have to test these drugs against sugar pills because just the intention, just the thought that something can heal has a real powerful effect. And
So how do we know this? So we there's a knee surgeon many years ago that we knew, and he was doing an experiment, and we asked could we go along and see, and the experiment was placebo effect. Like we were really interested in that. So he I don't know the exact numbers, but let's say he got 10 patients in. And he told him that the surgery was going to be free of charge. People that struggle with, walking and so knee joint injuries that people couldn't, we needed a walking stick. We'll do it free of charge, but two of you will have the placebo effect, and we will not touch the knee. And they did it. What they didn't tell the whole 10 is every single person is going to be cut like it was an operation. Only two of you is going to be sewn up straight away. So it looks like you've had the knee surgery, but you haven't. Everyone agrees. Everyone agrees. The results were that the two guys that were placebo walked fine for the rest of their lives. Three or four others were convinced themselves they didn't have the operation, even though they did, and their knee was in perfect order, had problems walking for the rest of their lives. It's just crazy how if you believe in something or you can convince somebody that such and such a thing is you or this it happens every single time. And most of the people that come to us with the childhood trauma, they've never been validated or approved as a child. I was molested by my priest. When I went home to tell my mom, I got a wooden clog smacked against my backside and sent up to my room with no dinner. And I was told to never mention it. How dare you call our priest? You are sick. Horrible stuff, man. So nobody validated that thing happening to me. So I carried that most of my life until I went to see my therapist. And it was only 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm 64. So if you imagine how long this has been going on. And when she started to explain it, it was like, oh my God, it's just crazy what we go through. And, but the test and results are there on neuroplasticity and neuroscience behind all of this that goes on, that eventually we either are our childhood trauma or we're not. And 99% of the time today, people are living from childhood trauma. So if you can't keep a job, if you haven't got the job you want, the girl or guy, the house, everything, you can't keep relationships, you're always in a bad mood, it's childhood trauma, but not the trauma you think it is. It's not a car crash or divorce or plane crash. It's not that. Alcoholics are born and addicts are born. Okay. As we go along later on in life, but early stage with alcoholics, we hear things differently because the brain is more sensitive. So the imprinted cells from fetus show us that it's even before we're born, we're going to suffer from that if we ever drink alcohol. And if we don't, it's still the traits and tendencies that we do. So we try and test everything to make sure that we know exactly what's going on before we can heal people, because there's no cure for alcoholism. We know that. There's a cure for every other addiction, no cure for alcoholism because of the hypothalamus and the basal ganglia, but there's no cure for the common cold or the food poisoning. But I take a few simple steps and routines every day to make sure I don't never get them to again. It's the same with alcoholism. It's not the alcohol. It's everything else that you learn so we can move on. So we kind of have an arrest period for the rest of our lives with the new neural pathways and thought patterns and behavior, knowing who I am today. If you know your identity, most people don't, 90% don't, the other 10 are successful. If you don't know your identity and how powerful you really are, you will never rise to the level that you've always dreamt of. I mean, this is what we need to do. And if we don't do it, we're going to die at a young age, frustrated, angry, and lonely.
How do you recommend people find their identity so they can find that path and walk it?
Well, most people's identity based on the job, based on the past, based on childhood trauma, based on the girlfriend, based on the wife, all this stuff. Because when we hang around somebody bad, that influence becomes our identity. When we work at a company for 30 years and then one day they just let us go, work was your identity. So what is your identity? Well, the childhood trauma needs to be cleaned up and the work needs to be done on conscious and subconscious brain to really find who you are and what your value is. And your value or worth is not your job. Your value and worth is not your childhood trauma. It's not your schooling. It's not being bullied. It's all of this stuff is not your worth. That's your trauma. So once we clear that with all the stuff we've mentioned today, you start to find how powerful you really are. And once that happens, all bets are off, guys. I mean, if let's say alcohol, drugs for a second, if we get clean and sober from that shit, we get two lives in one lifetime. The question is, what are you going to do with your second lifetime? Because I signed I don't know, $1 million deal in Dallas, Texas for offices, for office space over a period of years. And my guy said to me, Rob, how do you sleep at night with that debt over you? What's he going to do to me that I've not already done to myself? What, you going to take Christmas off me or something? So he take the offices, get another fucking office. So we start pushing our life as a person we are. And the more we achieve, because we're not ourselves, we're not based on ourselves in the past, the more we achieve with this new second life we get, the more you go forward. And I keep pushing the envelope. I deal today, personally, I have 4 patients at any one time. I deal with movie stars, musicians, stuff like that. And, life is good for me. And all my staff deal with working class people like me, but we're all going the same way. It's like once you find out, once you're stood somewhere and you go, holy shit, I never dreamt of this, that's your identity coming through. When you're in the presence of somebody you've always admired and you're on a leveled conversation with them, that's your identity. You are very powerful, you just don't know it. You're 25% more attractive, you just don't know it. Girls and guys, never going to be too blonde, tall, thin enough, or rich enough. It's just not going to happen. So stop chasing these dreams and find out what you really want in life. And if you want to take it a step further, let's say you want a better job because better money, so you can look after your family. If you're on, let's say you're on 40,000 right now, and you want to earn 60,000, write yourself a check for 60,000 and date it a year from today, and put it in your bathroom wall. Subliminal messaging. I bet 9 out of 10 times you'll be on 60 grand and you'll be able to cash that check in 12 months' time. See, people ask me, what's addiction? It's like 40, 50 different things around you that are easy to do, but you have to have the knowledge to be able to do this because, again, what's an alcoholic? Someone who drinks so much alcohol. Holy shit. How many people have you killed with that line? It's like you look at treatment centers, they're talking about relapse prevention. What? I was stood in a treatment center ready to talk, and the therapist was on before me, and he's trying to impress me. And he actually said to the 30 or 40 patients, that this time next month, 20 of you would have relapsed. Well, if I'm in the audience, they're like, well, that's me. Yeah. Well, he was right. It's like, what are you teaching these guys? We're the only company in the world with a money back guarantee. If you relapse, I'll pay you all your money back. No one else does that. Why? It's a fucking money making industry where you can earn money for doing nothing. You can take people, if you have a treatment center, whoever's listening to this, and you're taking little Johnny in for third and fourth time for relapse, and you're still paying 30 grand a month, shame on you. Shame on you. That's not how it works, guys. If you're genuine, know your stuff, powerful, know my identity, know my value. People call me all the time. Hey, Dr. Rob, just started my therapy thing. I've gone solo. I'm really excited. How much do you think I should charge an hour? My answer is, how much are you worth an hour? And it freaks them out. They're like, well, I don't know, maybe 60. Well, as long as you think your worth is $60 an hour, that's what it'll be. They don't get it.
That's powerful. Dr. Rob, I appreciate you joining me today. Are there any other words you'd like to share with people? Any advice?
Yeah, guys, you've got to start believing that you've been chosen. You've got to start believing that you are powerful. All the powerful men didn't start getting up in the morning at 9 years old thinking they were powerful. It just happened as they learned through. Let's cut through the bullshit of that, guys. You can be anybody you want to be. And years ago, forget your political views for a second. I don't believe in that shit. But a few years ago, we had a businessman running the country with no political experience whatsoever. Do not tell me you can't achieve your dreams. It's just not true. Somebody's put that there, guys. You have to get away from that negative thinking. It's really important that we communicate with people, smile at people, nod at people, whatever it is to make a difference. And I'll leave you with this thought. Guy gets up in the morning, goes to the Golden Gate Bridge, throws himself off, commits suicide. When the police pull him out of the water, they find his identity, go back to his apartment looking for next of kin. What they found was a letter on his kitchen table, and it read, I'm going to walk to the Golden Gate Bridge and throw myself off and commit suicide, unless on the way there, somebody says good morning, somebody nods at me, somebody smiles at me. In that case, I'll stop, I'll turn back and start again. That was an hour's walk. How many people have you walked past today who's heading to the Golden Gate Bridge? You just never know, man.
That's powerful. Yeah, that reminds me of something I read that, the most important things we do at the end of our lives may be just those very small things of giving somebody a warm hello or a smile, a good greeting. So
I met my wife about 10 years ago, okay? And on our second date, I took her downtown to eat, and we had carry-outs and stuff, and I wasn't going to go back to her house on his second date. And we're walking with these carry-ons through San Antonio, and we passed a homeless guy. And about 2 or 3 yards after she stopped, she turned around, she walked back to the guy, and she gave him her food. And as soon as she did that, Johnny, I'm like, I'm going to marry this girl. Because it is the smallest thing that could. I know when I was homeless, it's the smiles, it's the, hey, you doing okay, man? I know you're down on your luck. A word can change. And if you don't think this is possible, guys, try this experiment. If you're out and about in a built up area of people, look for somebody coming towards you with sneakers. They're always best sneakers. I always say 2 words to them. Nice sneakers. They're probably going to say, "Oh, thank you, man." Turn around and watch him walk away from you. He's going to look down at his sneakers at least 2 to 3 times. Now you just made his day. But guess what? He goes home to the wife or girlfriend because he's in a good mood. Now she's in a good mood. Then the mother-in-law calls and you get the gist. 1 or 2 words, man, can change the world. And if you're not changing the world, what the fuck are you doing? If you're being miserable all day, if you're sat at home not helping people, go drink, man. Because that's not life, man. That's not life. That's isolation. That you're still in your disease. You're still suffering from untreated alcoholism, man. It's not about the alcohol, it's about you. You've got a second life. Use it. Don't sit there going, I don't think I'm worthy. You're worthy. Okay? I can't express this enough. Going from where I've been, from where I am now, is humanly impossible. So get yourself a higher power or a God. There's 1,300 gods. Fucking pick one. March forward. Do things you're not supposed to do. Smile at people. Don't get angry. Have great relationships. Build an empire. If you're in a job you can't stand, get a website and a business card, do something you're good at, like knitting socks. And in a few weeks or months' time, whenever it is, you are making enough money in that empire you're building to walk out your full-time job that you hate. Because there's nothing worse. You have not got time. You have not got time. Because that job, you go to work every day, diligent, doing your best you can. In 20, 10, 30 years' time, they lay you off because they're closing down. Where the fuck has that 30 years gone? What, you think they care about you? You know, if I passed away, God forbid I passed away tomorrow, my job will be filled in 2 weeks. Okay. In 3 or 4 months, everybody will forgot about me. In 6 to 12 months, my wife will start dating again. It's like you've got nothing when you go. Why not make a fuss now? Why not make a noise? Do shit we're not supposed to do, guys. As alcoholics and addicts, depressed, or whatever it is, do shit we're not supposed to do. Because what's the worst can happen? Nothing. What we've been through is incredible. And once we get free of all that shit, we are geniuses, man. I don't hire anybody that's not been through the shit that addicts and alcoholics gone through. No, you don't work here. You have to have gone through it. You see the diplomas on my wall behind me? Not worth a shit in what we teach today. What we teach is by experience, the new neuroscience that we've learned. No diplomas, no universities, nothing like that. It's like when we get the power to help others, and that's a capital P, by the way, guys. We can go out, help others, and our life becomes amazing. Because when I get to heaven and St. Peter comes to the doors and lets me in, and I stand before God, do you know what he's not going to ask me? How much was that watch you were wearing? How much was that car you were driving? Hey, that house was big. How much was... He's not going to ask that. He's going to ask one thing, Rob, how many people did you help? And I want a fucking big number. Baby.
I love it. I love it. Love is the way. Let's rise to the occasion. Amen, brother.
Oh,
That's great.
nice. I love that, man.
All right, Dr. Rob, dude, I'm encouraged. I'm inspired. I'm sure everybody watching is too. And yeah, let's all do the best we can. And yeah, that's a great legacy to leave, isn't it?
Yeah. And, do it today, guys. I've got time. Do it today. Don't be wasted. I'll do it tomorrow. No. Parents, how many times you can't shut me up now, Johnny? How many times I've heard parents say to me, well, 1 minute I'm waving off to kindergarten, the next minute is at college. We haven't got time, guys. Do it now.
The time is now. Seize the moment. Seize the day. That's right. Let's go with a capital P. Did you say help with a capital P? Is that what I heard there?
Oh, yeah. Capital P.
Why not a capital H?
What's H?
Help.
Well, a capital P stands for God's power.
Oh,
Anything
God.
capitalized in the middle of a sentence is usually God. So higher power capitalized. And all that great stuff. And it's like we have the power. You have to realize how much fucking power we have, guys. They've got so much power because we've been beaten down by addiction. We're sick of people stepping over us while drunk. There he goes again. Rob the drunk. We've had all that most of our lives. Break that freaking mold, guys. We're not that person anymore. Stand big, stand tall, stay aggressive if you need to be in the nicest possible way. Don't take any shit off anybody, man. Don't live off what other people think you should live. Oh, yeah, you can't be this, says who? You can't go to America and earn millions in it, says who? Who's making these rules up? Because I don't fucking like them.
That's right. That's right. Let's be warriors of love. And let's do the best we can. Amen. Thank you so much, Dr. Robb. I appreciate you. Look forward to talking to you